G'day, how's it all going there? This is just an introductory video because I've got a few that need to be made, and this is just going to be a warm-up one. The real one I'm going to get down to in the near future is about this bloke who calls himself Wolfie 6020 or something like that. I call him Wolfo because I think it's kind of more appropriate, like, you know, doggo. His wild dog, and I call him Wolfo 1080 from now on, simply because 1080 is the kind of poison that, you know, they bait wild animals, ones they don't find exactly desirable. Mostly wild dogs of all things, if you can grasp your mind around that. Anyway, Wolfie, it appears you've been putting out a lot of videos lately, which are directed specifically to flat earthers like myself, and yet you have specifically banned me from responding to any of them, and I find that highly rude. I'm going to respond to you later. What I'm doing now as a warm-up is there's this guy, I don't know a thing about him, so this is why I'm doing this completely cold, unprepared, off the cuff, because he's come up with 20 questions that flat earthers can't answer. Meanwhile, I've been communicating with his person, a big dark-skinned man with long dreadlocks, calls himself Greater Sapien, who has put out one of 11 questions, each of which I've answered in pretty concise form, because that's what I do when I'm typing. You try to be as brief as possible and still get across the message. At least maybe while I'm speaking, I'll be able to address these 20 questions. Now, it's taken him 10 minutes and 44 seconds to put these 20 questions out. So I'm just going to start without any further ado and see what comes of it. Let's see what holy Koolaid.
As a child, I attended a show where a magician sawed a woman in half. Not knowing how this mechanism worked, I leapt to the conclusion that it had to be some kind of spiritual, mystical force of magic. It was a false conclusion that intuitively seemed correct, but brought with it a host of other problems, assumptions, and unanswered questions. If you lack scientific literacy, it's easy to postulate far-fetched alternative explanations for how the universe works. They seem intuitive, but as with the magician, they bring with them a host of other problems, contradictions, assumptions, and
40
unanswered
seconds gone.
questions. Maybe you've seen a
You haven't
flat
even
Earth
asked a
conspiracy
question yet.
video or read a compelling anti-science blog post. But before you dive headfirst into that flat world of absurdism, with the help of several other pro-science, skeptically minded
cartoon
creators,
character,
I put
no
together
less.
a list of questions for you to think about.
Can't even
When
show
you're
his
done
true
watching this,
face,
I highly
or
recommend
use
that
his
you go check out and
true
subscribe
name.
to their channels as well. You won't be disappointed.
My question is this, to those who expect to see some kind of curvature on a
Cosmic
globular
skeptic.
Earth with their
I would
eyes,
say
what
kind.
exact kind of curvature are you expecting to see?
Real curvature. Oh, jeez. See, it's not very often I have a ball hanging around. Here's one. I bought this some time ago. This is probably a really good one because it's actually made up of a series of flat surfaces to give the appearance of a ball. Isn't this actually still got the price tag on it? Well, it's not a price tag because there's no price. Still the tag. What sort of curvature do you expect to see? Curvature that goes that way? Or curvature that goes that way? Well, you actually don't see that curvature so much, do you? You assume it's there because it's hidden. But see this curvature? It's not hidden. Like on any spherical object, the left to right curvature is not hidden behind itself. It is visible. This is the kind of curvature we expect to see. I know. You will say 1 degree is 69 miles. How can we possibly see 1 degree of curvature over 69 miles when we're lucky if we can see, say, I don't know, well, I've been to places I reckon I could see a couple of 100 miles, and it's flat as a fucking tack. Now, if I can't see 1 degree of curvature, see, this is your problem here, is you say 1 degree is so small, but when you put it on a ball that's 25,000 miles big around, 1 degree is pretty big. In fact, it is 69 miles. So over a 90-mile vista where you are seeing the first mile of drop off, that means 69 miles is less than 1 degree, so 90 miles is actually more than 1. Fucked if I know. I can't think maths out loud, but I do know for a fact that 90 miles is where you see your first mile. So if you're seeing a tiny little bit, you might not think it's much, because 1 degree is just under 70 miles. Yet you can see somewhere where it'd be 200 miles. Well over a mile of drop. In fact, the curvature calculator says it's 8 inches per mile squared. So the sort of curvature we'd expect to see for any spherical object remains the same. Left to right, just as much as front to back. If you think the horizon stops at 3 miles distance, where it curves away from you because you can't see beyond it when you're a 6-foot person standing on the shore, 3 miles you think you can see it, that's where the boats start to disappear bottom first, then how the fuck can we not see it in 200 miles left to right? Okay, next.
If you're talking about the kind of curvature that goes away from us and over the horizon, then that would be indiscernible. It would look the same as a flat Earth, because you can't see things that are under the horizon. If you're talking about a kind of curvature...
So let's just check here for a minute. If you're talking about the kind of curvature you can't see, that would be just like the flat Earth. Fucking genius. Let's keep going.
Where if you were to follow the horizon from left to right, that you would see some kind of curvature downwards. Just follow that to its logical conclusion. Do a 360 spin on the spot. Where does that horizon end up? It wouldn't match up to where you started, so that makes no sense whatsoever either. Even if you were high enough up to see some kind of curvature, all it would be is looking down and seeing the entire Earth beneath you, and any globe from one particular point of view, because of perspective, is indistinguishable from a flat disk. In other words, nobody has ever claimed that the kind of curvature you're expecting to see is what you would expect to see on a globular Earth. Or even...
Wait. Because the Earth looks flat and is exactly what you'd expect to see on a flat Earth, the kind of curvature you're believing in that cannot be seen is still what you expect exists. I cannot believe the mental gymnastics that in itself has just extruded out of the thin air to say it looks flat, it's what we expect to see on a flat Earth, but how could it be otherwise? Because unless you go up really, really high, hello, we've been up really, really high, you only have to see 90 miles to see a fucking mile of visible curvature. Okay.
Even that is possible, although I will say that it's a damn sight more possible than a flat Earth.
If you honestly want to believe that the Earth is flat, I'm not going to stop you, but I would like to ask, if you want to convince any of us, especially those of us that are at least moderately science-minded, could you please provide a working model? A full...
Here we go. The working model. The same thing. Look, it's not like we woke up saying we want to believe the Earth is flat. It makes no difference what we want to believe. Whether you want it to be spherical, you have to prove it. If you want it to be flat, well, you just have to go and have a look at it and look for any detection of movement, even though we're going 2.8 million miles an hour at any given rate in 4 different directions, dragging the moon along with us. I digress. I shouldn't be going into that yet. We're only on the second question. We're only 2 minutes and 19 seconds in. This idiot is going on about if you want to see a flat Earth. I don't really give a rat's ass whether it is flat or curved. I just want the truth. That's all that matters. And if it's truthful that it's curved and it's a spinning ball and we're on it, fine. That is great. But if all the evidence proves to it being flat and stationary, it's not because I want it to be that way. It's because it's how I observe it, see it, record it, acknowledge it, and... What else was he saying?
full-scale working model of the flat Earth.
The model, of course, they want a model. Like you can understand reality by looking at little tiny models of it. Fuck that. No, the Earth is a very complex place. It all exists because everything in the universe seeks its level due to density and buoyancy. Tesla himself said, think of existence in terms of frequency and vibration. Everything is frequency and vibration. We, on this physical plane, exist on the only physical plane that exists on this frequency at this vibration. Below us it gets so dense we can't exist down there. This realm is freaking magic. We've got all kinds of shit. We've got light, sound, stars, rain, clouds. We've got, you name it. All physical life exists here on this beautiful, splendid, fantastic realm, and it doesn't exist anywhere else because they're not of the right vibration. If you go up too high, first of all, you run out of oxygen. Your physical body can't cope. You get too close to the sun, you might even cook up a bit. Who knows? We can't go beyond this dimension. This dimension, the physical realm, is it. And it's fucking fantastic. Why argue for something else and say, well, the universe is teeming with planets and other places that are much or possibly better than this one, you know, just because this one happens to be in the Goldilocks zone of this big bang of crap that happened and somehow we existed on it. I happen to think everything is quite orderly and sensible when you look around and you see this realm exists because of physical density, vibration and frequency. Everything reaches its level. You can hear my voice reaching you because sound happens to travel quite well through air and sometimes through electrical cables in your ears if that's the way you're listening to it. Why do you need a model to try and understand what you can see all around you and how magnificent it is? I mean, you get shown models of an atom. Does that make you still believe the atom is that somehow now more real because you've seen a model? When, in fact, scientists will tell you, well, no, we've never actually seen one, but we believe this might be what it's like. This is what we do with models. We try and present information in a way your tiny fucking mind can comprehend it because you can't comprehend reality as it is. You need models. You fucking retards. I'm going on.
With accurate predictions and measurements that follow through on that scale. And no, I don't mean the UN map.
Accurate predictions. You love pulling that one out of your ass because the globe model gives us accurate predictions. Well, it actually doesn't. It gives us the most wildly inaccurate explanation for how we can see the exact same stars in the exact same constellation over night after night. That's enough. Let alone year after year, let alone lifetime after lifetime, let alone hundreds of thousands of years where even the Great Pyramids of Giza are mapped out, the star system of Sirius perfectly to this day. None of it's ever changed. And yet the globe model itself predicts all this shit should be changing night after night after night. Stars that are thousands of light years away from each other, you only have to move a tiny little dot and those things would be so far away from each other, yet they are 100% consistent, constant, always there, and we can see them any night of the year, give or take how much the actual star systems themselves are rotating around above us. That's about the only thing we can tell about stars. So, talking about predictions of things, what's that thing called again? I always forget. The astrolabe. The astrolabe, is that how you pronounce it? It's a thing designed on the geocentric flat Earth that predicts every single constellation, eclipse, moon phase, the whole lot, all precisely from our flat stationary plane looking up at it all exactly how it's always been. So the astrolabe is the flat Earth model, the only one you need. You don't need to go looking further for little fucking things hanging
Why is
above
it
your
that
crib.
all other astronomical bodies, like other planets, their orbiting moons, the sun, other stars, why is it that they're all spherical and the laws of gravity apply to them?
Oh, they're all spherical, okay. And the laws of gravity apply to them? Hang on. You don't even know what the laws of gravity are. It's still a made-up theory. So let's not even go there at the moment. Let's talk about why do they look spherical. Well, here's a little bumper just to get this frickin' thing started. You can look at a really far distant light and see one spherical light. And as it gets closer and closer and closer, you see it's a big truck and it's got two lights with multiple lights down the side. But from a far distance, it looked like one light. So even if the stars and so forth we see are single spherical objects as they appear, it still doesn't mean jack shit about the ground beneath our feet. Okay, like, they're not necessarily spherical at all, just because they appear that way to us. So looking at them and saying blatantly to our faces, these are far distant stars, millions of light years away. So we're talking miles in the terms as millions and billions of miles away, all of them, never changing parallax of course, but regardless. And you expect the light from something that far away to not appear spherical, shows you have no understanding whatsoever of the way light works whatsoever. If two very distinct lights of a truck just 5 kilometers away can appear as one solid spherical object, far out. And the laws of gravity apply to them? No, that is an assumption, a made-up assumption. You don't even know what gravity is, so how can you say the laws of it apply to them when the laws of gravity says that any objects swirling around each other, from every example we can show, go clunk together? Bam! You need to put in dark energy, dark matter, all that other fucking crap to make them stay apart. So...
But the Earth is somehow the odd one out. What makes it different?
If gravity comes from the Earth constantly accelerating upward, not just moving quickly, but actually constantly accelerating,
Nobody says
where
that.
is this infinite source of energy that's propelling it?
Oh, hang on. Even if it did, which it doesn't, even if it did, what about all these other infinite sources of energy, like the sun? Like every other star? Like all these things shooting through at billions and billions of miles an hour in order to do it just so perfectly to appear absolutely constant, as though a beautiful synchronous mosaic of stars all go around the sun in such a way that they appear to stay perfectly still. But if the Earth does project itself up at 9.8 meters per second squared, which it doesn't, but if it did, would that be any more absurd than any of the beliefs that you are trying to say are scientific facts? I think not. The fact that the Earth is still not moving and the stars are rotating above us says the stars are rotating above us, nothing more.
Why do time lapses of stars rotate in different directions in the northern and southern hemisphere?
Did I just predict the future? Now we're talking about the time lapses of stars. Well, I'll tell you what. You put a tiny little camera on your tiny little sphere and spin your sphere around on its tilt of 66.6 degrees like that, and show me how this camera is going to point to a fixed point up there and make all other points around that rotate in perfect circles around it. It will not happen. How can it be happening on Earth then, if these stars are billions of light years away from each other and we're the ones spinning on our axis? Okay, it only takes once a day to go right around once, but it's still a 25,000 mile orbit in under 24 hours, making it about 1,040 miles rotational. As we're going around the sun, 1 degree per day of course, but we go right around it in a year. That 1 degree is 1.6 million miles, and all these things, as we're going 1.6 million miles, still appear to be rotating perfectly around something that we can point a camera exactly to when we're not even at the pole looking at it. Star trails debunk the globe Earth 100%. If you can show me a model, like I just did, where you can put a camera on it and point it at a distant object and make perfect circles from anywhere on it apart from right at the pole, right at the tippy top pole, down here. If you're pointing a camera up, your camera is going right around here at this 66.6 degree angle, and you still think you can make perfect star circles, and that proves you're on a globe. And if you pointed your camera the opposite direction, assuming you're at the equator, you'll do the same thing in the opposite direction. Hello? No. I think if we're looking at stars rotating around above us, and we're looking at them rotating around above us at the other direction, we might see them go in the opposite direction. Or we might have a different star system altogether far to the south, indicating there might be more continents well beyond Antarctica, which, as you'd expect, if this one has its sun with its stars going around it, maybe theirs do as well. I mean, why would you have continents and have no sun? That's going a bit beyond flat Earth, but it's at least opening up your mind to the possibilities.
We would expect for rotating around Earth.
If NASA's part of a global conspiracy, the Earth's flat, and the moon landings never happened, then how come anybody with a high-powered laser can bounce light off of retroreflectors that the astronauts left on the moon?
I believe they were bouncing lasers off the moon well before they went to the moon. I would like to see somebody with their P900 or their telescope, whatever object they feel most fitting to do so, to zoom in on this mirror that the astronauts left on the moon, pointing down at us, reflecting lasers. I mean, the precision of that alone is incredible. And while I'm on the subject, I'm just going to briefly mention it. Have you seen how many pictures they took from the moon of the Earthrise? Bam! Totally busted right there alone. The Earth will never rise on the moon, not within less than 2 week gap at least. The moon shines the same face on Earth the whole time. We see the moon appearing to rise just as we do the sun, according to this heliocentric belief, because we're orbiting. We're orbiting, not the moon. The moon takes 27 days to go around us once. Backwards, of course. So how can you possibly see an Earthrise from the moon within a period of about 9 hours and think that somehow it matches the same thing we would see from the Earth, which is spinning once every 24 hours to see a moonrise? Bam. They shot themselves in the foot with that one, and they did it every time. The same face of the moon constantly faces Earth. So anytime you are seeing Earth from the moon, it's not going to change. What you're actually going to see is the Earth itself spinning, and yet we've seen one picture from these Apollo moon landings months, if not years apart, where the Earth looks exactly the same. Same clouds, same phase, same everything. They faked the whole friggin' thing, and anybody can check it for themselves and find out. Next.
If climate change melts the Antarctic ice wall, will all the water fall off the edge, or will...
Oh, fuck's sake. Yeah, there's an edge. Yeah, water falls off it. Yeah, shut up.
Will we be swarmed with White Walkers?
Why from the southern hemisphere do images of the moon appear upside down?
Why, if I stick a picture to the roof and I walk over the other side of the room and look at it, will it appear upside down?
And you can verify the change if you drive north and south, traveling, taking pictures of the moon. You can see that change as you move to the other side of the Earth. How do flat earthers explain that?
Did you know there are over 500 people from 38 countries who have been to space, and that there's 72 different government space agencies, 31 private spaceflight companies, and 24 private endeavors, all of which are building rovers, landers, and probes? Now this... Did
you know that not one of them has ever been to space? And NASA fully admits that by talking about shit where we're yet to go beyond low Earth orbit. If you still believe in space, great, you're a perfect product of the Hollywood freaking generation, growing up watching movies, believing bullshit, and thinking you've got some bead on things, because the more there are doing it, if there's only like 2 or 3 doing it, oh, that'll be an easy cover-up. But if we can say, well, 70 of them, I don't know 70 of them. I've never seen movies of anything other than NASA, the Great Deceiver. So I would like to see some evidence of all these things you talk about on paper, in theory, that show any of them have ever been to space.
This represents tens, if not hundreds of thousands of employees. NASA alone has 17,000. And they're all building equipment to meticulous specification based on...
There you go. Don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. The bigger the conspiracy, the more easy people will fall for it. Hitler himself said that. The bigger the lie, the more readily people will fall for it. You know, if you lied to them about something like, oh, your door fell off its hinges, when the door is obviously on its hinges, you're not going to believe that, are you? But if you had lied to about, well, we've been to the moon and we've sent thousands and thousands of men into space doing thousands and thousands of specific things. Oh, okay, yeah, well, it must be true if it's thousands and thousands. But you told one little lie, no one's going to believe bullshit. But if it's really big bullshit, oh, fuck yeah. NASA fanboys, we love that
universally applicable scientific principles. And this equipment has to be able to travel at mind-numbing speeds. It has to be able to sustain radiation and fluctuations in temperature. On top of that, it has to remain airtight. Are all of them in on it? And if so, how many of them can keep a secret? And if not, how are those at the top managing to fool every single one of their employees?
Quite easily. Give them a fucking
If the
paycheck.
sun is rotating above the Earth in a circle, then how do you explain both solar and lunar eclipses? And if the sun dips below the Earth to cast a shadow on the moon, then how come the entire Earth is never submerged in darkness at the same time?
That's just the geocentric question. Geocentric question, still assuming we're in outer space, that we're not the physical plane due to frequency and vibration. That's the bottom of things, and the lights above us are lights above us. Nothing goes below the Earth that we can see, apart from worms, a few miners, and various submarines perhaps, but they're in water.
Daytime in New York when it's nighttime in New Delhi. Yeah.
Oh, so you just described the sun going around above us, and yet you still can't understand how it can be shining on different places at the same time. Holy crap. Yet on the globe, with the globe spinning on its axis, oh, let's pull this one out again because this is such a good example of a globe spinning on its axis. As the sun is shining on one side of it, it's always shining on 50% of it, meaning everywhere on Earth is literally getting, apart from right near the pole areas, 50% daylight, 12 hours each and every day. Now think about this. It's constantly tilted as well, constantly tilted as it goes around the sun. How the heck do you explain an equinox where each hemisphere gets equal days? Does it suddenly stop tilting for 2 days of the year and then goes back to 66.6 degrees of tilt? Equinoxes prove the globe is bullshit.
Say that the live footage of astronauts is fake because you can't see stars. But have you ever taken a picture or video of the night sky only to realize that your camera's sensor just isn't sensitive enough to capture these dim balls of light without increasing exposure time? Did you ever notice that it's daytime? The freaking sun is out!
Huh, there you go. Because once you go up high enough, it shows that the sun is always near and close enough that it will always be visible, just as the moon proves to us. The moon itself, constantly lit by sunlight, even if we can only see a tiny sliver of it, shows that if you go up sufficiently high enough, the sun is constantly there, which means our entire plane must be below that. And of course you won't see stars if the sun is visible because it is too bright. Whoa.
Of course you can't see other stars.
Additionally, if it is impossible for the Earth to be round because we don't feel it moving at the incredible speed it's moving, what's preventing us from feeling the force of the constantly accelerating flat Earth as it moves upward? And wouldn't this...
Nobody believes it's accelerating upward. And if, as you said, it is constant, again,
Sun and all of the other luminaries be having to
we don't
move
feel
at the
millions
same
and
rate?
millions and millions of miles per hour, but we should be feeling a constant acceleration upwards. Nobody believes a constant acceleration upwards, okay, you dumb fucking shit. I'm going to have to make a part 2 to this because I'm only at 5:35 and I'm at the end of my video recording time. So I'll be back with part 2 shortly.